Hello, my lovelies. Today our story is called The Unmannerly Tiger. It means a tiger who's not very polite. Many centuries ago, in the highlands of Korea, there lived a fierce old tiger. He was big and scarred and grumpy, and the villagers called him Mountain Uncle. That's a bizarre name for a grumpy tiger, Mountain Uncle. But Mountain Uncle was his name. In summer, Mountain Uncle would hunt the deer and the goats in the mountains. But in winter, when the snow blanketed the land and the villagers shivered around fires in their cottages, Mountain Uncle would come down and prowl around the villages. Prowling, that means he was creeping around. He would scratch and yowl at the doors of barns and houses, terrifying animals and humans alike. My cat growls when he's hungry, so I guess big cats like tigers do too. One autumn day, Mountain Uncle was prowling through the forest. He had not eaten that day or the day before, so his stomach was growling. As Mountain Uncle walked around a large tree, what did he see but another tiger? It was as large and as fierce and as scarred as he was, but its scar was over its right eye and not its left, like Mountain Uncle's was. Mountain Uncle instantly growled and prepared to pounce, and the other tiger did just the same. Mountain Uncle was not having any of that from a stranger and leaped at the other tiger. Unfortunately, something went terribly wrong. He slammed into something hard and tumbled into a pit, and a wooden trap door slammed shut above him. What on earth has happened? When Mountain Uncle looked up at the trapdoor, he saw that a metal mirror had been fixed to it. Mountain Uncle had been tricked into leaping at his own reflection and had fallen into a cunning tiger trap. His own reflection. You know, when you look into a mirror and your face stares back at you, that's your own reflection. Try as he might, he could not get out. And he began groaning and growling most fearsomely. Now a monk happened to be passing that way, and he heard Mountain Uncle in the tiger trap. "Who's in there?" asked the monk. Now a monk is like a priest, but he follows Buddhism and he worships in temples. "Who's in there?" asked the monk. "I am Mountain Uncle," the tiger said, "and I've fallen into this trap and would be most grateful if you would let me out." Now the monk was a good man, as most monks are, and he believed in showing kindness to all living things. I like that idea too. So he opened the trapdoor and let Mountain Uncle scramble out. "Thank you, kind sir, for letting me go free," said Mountain Uncle. "Alas, I am hungry, and despite my gratitude, I must eat you now." Well, I mean, that's being very impolite, isn't it? The monk's just saved his life, and now the grumpy tiger wants to eat him. That's not nice. The monk was a bit upset. Well, so would I be. The monk was a bit upset and more than a little afraid when Mountain Uncle said this. "This is most ungrateful and impolite of you, tiger," exclaimed the monk, and rightly so. "We must ask the spirit of this tree to judge whether you should be allowed to eat me up after I kindly freed you from the trap." Mountain Uncle agreed. They were going to ask the spirit of the tree. So they asked the tree to make a judgment. The spirit of the tree thought for a moment and replied, "Mountain Uncle, You have no right to eat the man that saved you. Mountain Uncle didn't like this answer, and his stomach began to growl again. We cannot trust a tree. We must ask the spirit in that boulder over there, for it's much older and wiser. So the monk and the tiger asked the spirit of the boulder whether Mountain Uncle should be allowed to devour the man who had set him free. Devour, that's a big word. It's another word for eating something. The spirit of the boulder quickly replied, It's wrong to eat someone who has helped you. Mountain Uncle was not happy about this. So the monk suggested that the wise toad, who lived in a crack in the rock further up the mountain, might be able to help. The monk climbed up the mountain to the toad's home, with Mountain Uncle following close behind and licking his chops. That's licking his lips. The monk was fat, and the tiger was getting hungrier with every step. When the toad was called out, they told him the problem. But the toad didn't make a quick decision, like the tree and the boulder. He thought about the question before saying, I must see this tiger trap before I can pass judgment. The tiger thought this was a great idea. I think he thought that the toad was going to say, yes, eat the monk. Anyway, the tiger, thinking this was a great idea, raced back down the mountain to the tiger trap, for he was impatient and hungry. As soon as the tiger left, however, the monk ran back down to the village and safety, while the old toad crawled back into his hole. He didn't really want to see the tiger trap, but instead he wanted to give his friend, the monk, a chance to escape. Mountain Uncle waited a long time by the tiger trap before he realised he had been fooled. He charged back up to the toad's home and loudly complained about how he had been cheated out of a tasty meal. The toad replied, from safe in his home, You have proved to be a most ungrateful and unmannerly beast, and it is only right that I should save the life of the man that saved you. Well, this made Mountain Uncle furious, and he clawed wildly at the crack in the mountainside. In fact, he clawed so wildly that he slipped off the mountain altogether and tumbled all the way down to the bottom. Mountain Uncle slunk off in the forests to lick his wounds. And you know what? He never bothered the villagers or visited that area again. Just shows if he'd had some manners and not tried to eat the monk, he would have probably been welcomed back.